Produced by Lianggu, Mainland Chinese Language Course, 3rd Grade Volume 1. 1. The Primary School Under the Big Green Tree. Elementary School Under the Big Green Tree. In the morning, from the hillside, from Pingba, and from the paths with pompon flowers and sunflowers blooming, many primary school students came, including Han, Dai, Jingpa, Achang and Diang. We all dressed up differently and came to school and became good friends. The bright clothes make the school colorful. The students greeted the birds singing happily on campus, greeted their beloved teachers, and saluted the national flag flying high. Dang, dang, dang. Dang, dang, dang. The bronze bell on the big green tree rang. Class is here, primary school students of different nationalities. Study in the same classroom. Everyone read the text together, the sound was so nice. At this time, it was very quiet outside the window, the branches stopped shaking, the birds stopped singing, and the butterflies stopped on the flowers, as if they were listening to the students reading the text. The most interesting thing is, 2 monkeys came running. These friends in the mountains and forests listened so curiously. After class, everyone danced peacock dance, wrestled, and played games under the big green tree, attracting many birds, and even squirrels and mountain cats came to watch the fun. This is our lovely primary school, a frontier primary school. The ancient bronze bell hangs on the thick branches of the big green tree. The shadow of the phoenix tail bamboo sways on the whitewashed wall. 2. The School of Flowers. Flower School. When thunderclouds roar in the sky and June showers fall, the moist east wind passes through the wilderness and plays the flute in the bamboo forest. So, groups of flowers suddenly ran out from unknown places, dancing and carnivaling on the green grass. Mother, I really feel like those flowers go to school underground. They closed the door and did their homework. If they want to come out to play before school, their teacher will make them stand in a corner. As soon as the rain comes, they take a holiday. The branches touched each other in the forest, the green leaves rustled in the strong wind, and the thunderclouds clapped their hands. At this time, the flower children rushed out wearing purple, yellow, and white clothes. Do you know, Mom, their home is in heaven, where the stars live. Don't you see how anxious they are to get there? Don't you know why they are in such a hurry? 3. If you don't understand, just ask. Sun Yat-sen studied in a private school when he was a child. There was class at that time. The teacher recited, and the students followed him, babbling, babbling, like singing. Once the students are familiar with it, the teacher will ask them to recite it one by one. As for the meaning of the book, the teacher never talks about it. One day, Sun Yat-sen came to school and put the book in front of his teacher as usual. Recite fluently what you learned yesterday. The gentleman listened and nodded repeatedly. Then, the teacher circled another paragraph in Sun Yat-sen's book. He read a sentence and asked Sun Yat-sen to read a sentence. After Sun Yat-sen knew how to read, he returned to his seat to practice reciting. Sun Yat-sen read it several times and memorized it. However, he had no idea what the book meant. Sun Yat-sen thought, what's the use of memorizing it in such a muddle? So he bravely stood up and asked, Mr. What does the passage you asked me to memorize just now mean? Please tell me about it. This question stunned the students who were shaking their heads and reading loudly, and the classroom suddenly became silent. The teacher took the ruler and walked to Sun Yat-sen. He asked sharply, "Can you memorize it?" "I know how to memorize it," Sun Yat-sen said, and he recited that section of the book verbatim. The teacher put away his ruler, waved his hand for Sun Yat-sen to sit down, and said, "I originally thought that when you grow up, you will naturally understand the principles in the book. Now, since you want to listen, let me tell you." The teacher spoke in great detail, and everyone listened attentively. Later, a classmate asked Sun Yat-sen, "Aren't you afraid of getting beaten when you ask questions to the teacher?" Sun Yat-sen smiled and said, "Learn and learn. If you don't understand, ask. It's worth getting beaten just to figure it out." 4. 3 Ancient Poems, Mountain Travel. Mountain Tour. Tang Dynasty, Du Mu. Far up the cold mountain, the stone path is sloping. There is a home where the white clouds are born. Stop and sit in love with the maple. Lin Wan. The leaves are red in February. Presented to Lu Jingwen. Song Dynasty Su Shi. The load is gone and there is no rain cover. There are still proud frost branches among the chrysanthemums. You must remember a good year. It is the most orange-yellow-orange-green time. What I saw in the night book. Song Dynasty Yi Shaoweng. The rustle of wuye leaves sends a cold sound. The autumn wind on the river moves the guests. I know there are children who pick and knit. Late at night, a light falls on the fence. 5. The concrete road covered with golden palms. One night of autumn wind, one night of autumn rain. When I went to school with my school bag on my back, the sky started to clear up. Ah! What a clear sky! But the ground is still damp, and from time to time you can see a sparkling puddle, reflecting a small corner of the blue sky. The plane trees on both sides of the road dropped golden leaves. The leaves, shining with raindrops, fell down. It stuck tightly to the wet cement road. I walked on the concrete path outside the courtyard wall. The concrete statue is covered with a colorful carpet. This is a sparkling carpet printed with fallen leaves. It is paved from the feet to far, far away, all the way to the end of the road. Each fallen leaf of the French plane tree is like a small golden palm, stuck flatly and flatly on the cement road. They are arranged irregularly, even a little messy. However, this adds to the beauty of the concrete walkway. I walked carefully step by step, counting each piece carefully. I'm wearing a pair of brown-red rain boots. Look, they look like 2 brown-red birds, jumping and singing happily among the golden leaves of autumn. If I weren't afraid of being late for class, would walk very slowly. One night of autumn wind, one night of autumn rain. When I went to school with my school bag on my back, for the first time I felt. The cement road in front of the door is so beautiful. 6. Autumn rain. Autumn rain is a key. With coolness and gentleness, it gently opens the door to autumn without you noticing. In the autumn rain, there is a box of colorful paints. You see, it gave the yellow color to the ginkgo tree. The yellow leaves are like small fans, fanning them wherever they go, fanning away the heat of summer. It gives the red color to the maple trees. The red maple leaves are like stamps, fluttering and fluttering, bringing the coolness of autumn. The golden color is for the fields. Look, the fields are like a golden ocean. The orange-red color is for fruit trees. Oranges and persimmons are squeezed by each other, vying for people to pick them. The chrysanthemum fairy gets more colors: purple-red, light yellow, snow-white. Beautiful chrysanthemums nod frequently in the autumn rain. Autumn rain has a very pleasant smell. Pears are fragrant, pineapples are sweet, and there are apples and oranges. There are so many sweet smells, all hidden in the little raindrops. Children's feet. I am often attracted by that fragrance. The autumn rain blows the golden trumpet, telling everyone that winter is coming. The little magpie picked up branches to build a house, the little squirrel found pine cones for food, and the little frog was digging holes. Get ready for a good night's sleep. The pines and cypresses put on thick, shiny clothes, and the leaves of poplar and willow trees floated to the feet of the tree mother. They are all preparing for winter. The autumn rain brings a harvest song to the earth. It is a happy song for children. 7. Listen to the voice of autumn. Listen. The voice of autumn. The big tree shook its arms. Swish. It was Huang Ye's words of farewell. Listen. The voice of autumn. The cricket flaps its wings. It's the rhyme of saying goodbye to the balcony. Rows of wild geese catch up with the white clouds. Scatter a warm reminder. A gust of autumn wind swept across the fields, sending a song of harvest. Listen. Entering autumn. Entering this vast concert hall. Listen carefully. Autumn's voice. The voice of autumn. In every leaf. On every little flower. In every drop of sweat. In every full grain. Listen. The voice of autumn. Coming in a hurry from afar. Go in a hurry to the distance. Listen. Let's listen to the voice of autumn. 8. Last year's tree. A tree and a bird are good friends. Birds stand on the branches and sing to the tree every day. As for the tree, I listen to the birds singing every day. The days pass day by day. The cold winter is coming. The birds must leave the trees and fly far, far away. The tree said to the bird, "Goodbye, little bird. Please come back next spring and sing to me." The bird said, "Okay, I will definitely come back next year and sing to you. Please wait for me." After the bird finished speaking, it flew south. Spring is here again. The snow in the fields and forests has melted. The bird came back here again to find her good friend, the tree. But what happened? The tree is gone. Only the roots of the tree remained. Where did the tree standing here go? The bird asked the root. The tree root replied, "The woodcutter chopped him down with an axe and pulled him into the valley." The birds flew into the valley. There is a large factory in the valley, and the sound of sawing wood is loud. The bird landed on the factory gate. She asked the door, "Mr. Door, do you know where my good friend's shoe is?" The gate replied, "It's a tree." They were cut into thin strips in the factory and made into matches, then transported to the village over there and sold. The birds flew towards the village. 9. The Little Match Girl. It was extremely cold, it was snowing, and it was getting dark again. This is the last day of the year, New Year's Eve. In this cold and dark night, a well-behaved little girl walked barefoot on the street. She was still wearing a pair of slippers when she came out of the house, but what was the use? They were a pair of big slippers, so big, her mother always wore them. As she was crossing the road, 2 carriages rushed past so fast that she was so frightened that she ran away from her shoes. One couldn't be found, and the other asked a boy to pick it up and ran away. He said he could use it as a cradle when he had children in the future. The little girl had to walk barefoot, and her little feet were red and blue from the cold. She had many matches in her old apron and a handful in her hand. Throughout the whole day, no one bought her a match, and no one gave her a coin. Poor little girl. She was cold and hungry, shivering as she walked forward. Snowflakes fell on her long golden hair, which was curled and draped over her shoulders. She looked very beautiful, but she didn't pay attention to it. Light shines from every window. There was a smell of roast goose in the street, because it was New Year's Eve, and she couldn't forget that. She sat down in the corner of a house and huddled up with her legs. She felt colder. She didn't dare to go home because she didn't sell a match. If she doesn't earn a penny, her father will definitely beat her. Besides, it's just as cold at home as it is on the street. There was only a roof above them, and although the largest cracks had been blocked with grass and rags, the wind could still get in. Her little hands were almost frozen. Ah, even a small match is good for her. Did she dare to take out a match from the pile and burn it on the wall to warm her little hands? She finally took out one. Chee! The match lit up and flames came out. She put her little hands around the flame. What a warm and bright flame, just like a small candle. This is a strange fire. The little girl felt like she was sitting in front of a big stove. The stove was equipped with shiny copper legs and brass handles. It was burning brightly and warm. How comfortable it was. Oh, what's going on? She just stretched out her feet and wanted to warm them up. The match went out and the stove disappeared. She sat there with only a burned matchstick in her hand. She rubbed another one. The match lit up and gave off a bright light. The light fell on the wall, and it suddenly became as transparent as gauze. She could see all the way into the house. The table was covered with a snow-white tablecloth, and there were exquisite plates and bowls. The aroma of roast goose filled with apples and plums was rising. What's even better is that the goose jumps off the plate with a knife and another knife stuck in its back. Waddling across the floor, he walked toward the poor little girl. At this time, the match went out, and there was only a thick and cold wall in front of her. That would be great. The seeds are tightly wrapped in soil. It had to curl up into a ball. This is really uncomfortable. ZZ thought, I must stand up and breathe in the air. It will be good. The seeds try to grow while thinking about it. After some time, it grew thin roots. The stem and two small leaves emerged from the ground and stood in the sun. After many days, it grew into a tall tree. The tall tree can see far away, and it sees people and animals walking and running on the mountain road. It would be great if we could make a tree that could run. The tree thought so. One day, a farmer came to the woods carrying a saw and an axe. The leaves of the tree fluttered toward the farmer, and the farmer chopped down the tree. The farmer dragged the tree to his yard and spent several days making it into a wheelbarrow. The farmer put the millet, potatoes, and his naughty son on the cart and pushed the cart up and down the mountain road. When running, it's so comfortable to hear the wind whistling in your ears from the trolley. The wheelbarrow has served the farmer for many years, and as it ages, its bones creak when it is run. It would be nice if I could just stop and sit and rest for a while. The cart was thinking this while running around hard. After some time, the farmer and his son dismantled the cart together and made a stopper out of the old wood. The chair remains there for many years. I am so old, thought the chair. It increasingly finds it difficult to sit with a straight back. It would be great if I could lie down. Now, the farmer's son has grown up to be a real farmer. He dismantled the chairs that squeaked and shook when he sat on them, and sawed them into small pieces of wood. Beautiful wooden floors were put together on the balcony. Satisfied with the wooden floor, I stretched out and lay on the balcony. The sun shone on my body, making it warm and very comfortable. It felt like it had become a tree again. 11. Traveling in the belly of a cow. There are two little crickets. One is called Greenhead and the other is called Redhead. They are a pair of very good friends. One day, after breakfast, the Greenhead said to the Redhead, "Let's play hide and seek. Then I'll hide it first, and you can come find it." The Redhead said, "Okay." Ching-Tu said. He turned around and closed his eyes. The Redhead looked around, then quietly hid in a haystack and fell silent. "Have you hidden it?" Ching-Tu asked loudly. The Redhead didn't speak, only exposed his two eyes and looked secretly. It thought to itself, "If I agree, will be discovered by Ching-Tu." At this moment, a big yellow ox slowly walked over from behind the Redhead. The Redhead never imagined that the big ox suddenly lowered its head to eat grass. The poor Redhead didn't have time to jump away. It was rolled into the mouth of the big ox together with the grass. "Help! Help!" The Redhead shouted desperately. "Where are you?" Ching-Tu asked hurriedly. "I was eaten by a cow, in its mouth. Help! Help!" Ching-Tu was shocked. It suddenly jumped on the cow, but the cow swept it lightly with its tail, and Ching-Tu fell to the ground. Regardless of the pain in his body, Ching-Tu climbed up and shouted loudly, "Escape from its teeth. The cow will never chew carefully at this time. It will swallow you and the grass into its stomach, then I will die soon." The Redhead cried. It and the grass had entered the cow's belly together. The Greenhead jumped on the cow again and spoke to the Redhead through the belly, "Redhead, don't be afraid, you will come out. I heard that there are 4 stomachs in the cow's belly. The first 3 stomachs are for storing food, and only the 4th stomach is for digestion. But what use do you say this to me? The red head said sadly. Dash, of course it will be useful, wait until the cows rest. It wants to put the grass it just swallowed back into its mouth, and then chew it slowly. You are a brave cricket, you will definitely come out. Thank you. The redhead's voice was so low that it was almost inaudible. It gritted its teeth to prevent itself from losing consciousness. The red head moves with the grass in the cow's belly. From the first stomach to the second stomach, and from the second stomach back to the cow's mouth. This time, the red head saw the light again. However, it could no longer move. At this time, Ching-Tu climbed onto the cow's nose and rubbed its body in the cow's nostrils. Sneeze. The cow sneezed, and the redhead spurted out along with a ball of grass. When the redhead saw his friend, he shed tears of joy. Thank you. Ching-Tu said with a smile, Don't cry, just think you have made a trip in the belly of the cow. 12. A piece of cheese. The ant captain gathered his team and announced to everyone, Today we are carrying food, we are only allowed to use our strength, and no one is allowed to steal. Who steals will be punished. A little ant muttered in the queue, What if it was you who stole the news? Captain Ant said, You will be punished if you do as you want. When everyone heard this, they all got excited and rushed to the place where the grain was transported, scrambling to lift big and heavy things. No one wants to be lazy. Just then, Captain Ant discovered a large piece of cheese. The piece of cheese was so big that he couldn't lift it left or right, so he had to call in 7 or 8 little ants as assistants. The cheese is so tempting. Lift it. Not to mention eating it, just smelling it will make your mouth water. The little ants are holding it in their mouths. It takes a lot of perseverance and discipline to avoid licking it. Captain Ant took a corner of the cheese and pulled it forward, perhaps using too much force. The corner was pulled off in one go. Staring at the bit of cheese residue that fell on the ground, Captain Ant thought, it would be a pity to throw it away. If he took the opportunity to eat it, he would violate the prohibition against stealing. What to do? His heart was pounding, so he had to order, Take a rest. Upon hearing the order, everyone put down the cheese but did not move away. Everyone spread out and rest wherever it's cool. Everyone remained motionless, looking away, but their hearts were concerned about the bit of cheese crumbs. Captain Ant was angry. He climbed onto a large stone slab and suddenly ordered, Attention, everyone is here. Take a break. Stand at attention. Back, turn. Step, go. When the little ants disappeared into the grass, he shouted, Stand still. Rest where you are. At this time, there was only Captain Ant next to the cheese, and he stole a mouth. No one can see it. He lowered his head and sniffed the cheese crumbs. It smelled so delicious. However, he hesitated for a while and finally stamped his foot. Attention, everyone is here. Take a break. Stand at attention. Back, turn. Step, walk. Dash. Little ants came from the grass in all directions. When they gathered around the cheese again, the ant captain ordered the youngest ant, This bit of cheese residue was just removed. It's a pity to lose it. Eat it. Everyone started working again, with more energy than before, and the cheese was soon moved into the hole. 13. The old house will never fall down. The old house has lived for more than 100 years. Its windows were turned into black holes and its doors had holes in them. It has been unoccupied for a long, long time. Okay, it's time for me to fall down. It said to itself, preparing to fall to the side. Wait, old house. A small voice sounded in front of its door. One more night, okay? There's a storm tonight. I couldn't find a safe place to sleep. Lao Wu lowered his head and pressed Lao Wa's eyes forward. Oh, it's a kitten. Okay, I'll just stand there one more night. The next day, the sky cleared up. The kitten jumped out of the hole in the door. Meow meow, thank you. The old house said, goodbye. Well, it's time for me to fall. Wait, old house. A small voice sounded in front of its door. 21 more days, okay? The master wants to take away my eggs, but I want to hatch chicks. I can't find a safe place to hatch my eggs. Looking down at the old house, the wall creaked. Oh, it's an old hen. Okay, I will stand for another 21 days. 21 days later, the old hen walked out of the broken window. 9 chicks came out from under the door panel and chirped, Chi-Chi, thank you. The old house said, goodbye. Well, it's time for me to fall. Wait, old house. A very small voice sounded in front of its door, and you couldn't hear it if you weren't paying attention. Please stand a little longer. I'm so hungry. The trees outside have been cut down, and I can't find a safe place to weave a net to catch insects. Lao Wu looked down and narrowed his eyes. Oh, it's a little spider. Okay, I'll just stand a little longer. The little spider quickly climbed into the house and weaved a large and beautiful web on the eaves. Occasionally, a bug hits the web, and the little spider immediately crawls over and eats the bug. Little spider, are you full? Old house asked. No, no. The little spider was busy mending the web and replied, old house, let me tell you a story. Lao Wu thought, this is quite interesting. So it started to listen to the little spider telling stories. The story of little spider has never been finished, so. The old house still stands there, basking in the sun and listening to the little spider telling stories. 14. Mr. Carrot's long beard. Mr. Carrot often worries about his beard because he has a thick beard and must shave it every day. One day, Mr. Carrot shaved off his beard in a hurry and went out to the street eating jam bread. Because he was short-sighted, he didn't notice that he missed a shave. This beard grows on the right side of the chin when Mr. Carrot eats jam bread. The beard is stained with sweet jam. What a nourishing treat jam is for a beard. So as Mr. Carrot walked step by step, this beard grew longer bit by bit. Just look back and see how long Mr. Carrot has walked, and you will know how long Mr. Carrot's beard has grown. Mr. Carrot continued to walk, his long beard blown behind his body by the wind, and he had no idea. At the far corner of the street, a boy was flying a kite. The string was too short, and his kite could only fly over the roof. Mr. Carrot's beard was just fluttering in the wind. This rope is long enough, but I don't know if it is strong enough. After finishing speaking, the little boy tugged on his beard. He made sure that the rope was strong enough, so he cut a section for flying the kite. Mr. Carrot continued to walk forward. When he passed under the tree of Mrs. Bird's house, Mrs. Bird was looking for a rope to dry the bird's diaper. Mr. Carrot's beard was just fluttering in the wind. 15. A dog that can't bark. Once upon a time, there was a dog that couldn't bark. It doesn't bark like a dog, it doesn't meow like a cat, and it doesn't moo like a cow. Not even neighing like a horse. He is a lonely puppy who somehow ended up in a country without dogs. It didn't realize there was anything wrong with it. It was others who let it know that its inability to bark was actually a big flaw. They said to it, "Dash. Why don't you scream?" "I won't, I'm from outside." What kind of answer is that? Don't you know that dogs can bark? Why are you shouting? Dogs bark because they are dogs. They bark at strangers passing by and they bark at annoying cats. Yell at the full moon. They bark when they are happy, they bark when they are nervous, and they bark when they are angry. They bark more during the day, but also at night. Maybe so, but what's wrong with you? You are such a special dog. Go, go. You'll be in the news one day. The puppy doesn't know how to respond to these criticisms. It doesn't know how to bark, and it doesn't know how to learn. You learn from me. Once, a sympathetic little cock said to it. The little rooster crowed a few times. I find it difficult, the puppy said to the cockerel. It's not difficult, it's extremely easy. Listen carefully, look at my mouth, observe me carefully, and learn from me. The little rooster crowed again. The puppy tried to do what the little rooster did, but it only made a funny clucking sound, which scared the little hen next to it and ran away. It doesn't matter, said the little rooster, it's great if you can do this the first time. Try it again, come on. The puppy tried again, twice, 3 times, but failed. From then on, he practiced every day, secretly from morning to night. Sometimes, in order to be more free, it simply goes to the woods to practice. One morning while he was practicing in the woods, the oh sound it makes is so lifelike, so nice, and so loud. A fox heard it and thought to himself, the rooster finally came to me. I have to thank him for his visit. The fox really went, and he didn't forget to bring his knife, fork, and napkin. Because there is no more delicious lunch for a fox than a cockerel. You can imagine how disappointed it was when it saw that the one crowing was a dog instead of a little rooster. The dog sat squatting and barking one after another. Oops. The fox said, so that's it. You set a trap for me. A trap? Of course. You made me think that a rooster was lost in the woods, and you set a trap to catch me. Fortunately, I found it in time. I guarantee you. I had no intention of arresting you at all. I'm just practicing here. Practice? What to practice? I practiced howling, and now I have almost mastered it. How nice it is for you to hear me scream. After saying that, it roared loudly again. The fox really wanted to laugh. It rolled on the ground, holding its belly, trying not to laugh. The puppy felt wronged, lowered his head, and walked away silently with tears in his eyes. A cuckoo nearby looked at the puppy and felt pity for it. "What's wrong with you?" "Nothing." "Then why are you so sad?" "Oh, there's nothing to say, because I can't bark." "If that's the reason, then I can teach you. Listen to what I call and imitate me as much as possible. Goo-goo. 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 Do you understand? I think it's easy. It's so easy, I've been calling it that since I was a kid. You try it. Goo-goo. Goo-goo, goo-goo. The dog imitated the cuckoo's cry, goo-goo, dash. It tried that day, and tried again on the second and third days. 1 week afterwards, it had learned quite well. The puppy was so happy and thought, "I finally know how to bark, and now no one can make fun of me anymore." It was during those days that people began to hunt. Many hunters came to the woods, including sharpshooters who were always accurate. Even if it is a nightingale, they will kill it. A hunter with good marksmanship passed by. He heard a cooing cry from the bushes, raised his gun and aimed, bang, bang, and fired twice. Fortunately, it missed. The bullet grazed the puppy's ear, like something out of a comic strip. The puppy ran away. It was very surprised. The hunter must have gone crazy and actually shot at the dog. The dog runs. The first ending. The dog ran and ran until he reached a meadow where a heifer was grazing peacefully. "Where are you going?" "I have no idea." "Then don't leave. The grass here is particularly fresh and tender." "Alas, grass cannot cure my disease." "Are you sick?" "No, I won't bark. But this is the easiest thing in the world. Hear me, moo, moo, moo." Is there a better cry than this? The second ending. The dog ran, and it met a farmer. The third ending. The dog ran, suddenly stopped. It heard a strange cry, woof, woof. "This bark sounds like it's saying something to me," thought the dog, even though I couldn't figure out what animal it was. Woof, woof. 16. Birds that hitch a ride. My mother and I took a boat and went to my grandfather's house in the countryside. We sat in the cabin. It's raining heavily. The raindrops hit the canopy of the boat and made a rustling sound. The boatman, wearing a raincoat, was rocking the oar vigorously behind the boat. Then the rain stopped. I saw a colorful bird standing on the bow. How beautiful! Its feathers are emerald green and its wings have some blue. More beautiful than a parrot. It also has a long red mouth. When did it fly here? It parked quietly on the bow of the ship for an unknown amount of time. What was it doing standing there? Is it going to go to my grandfather's house by boat with us? Just as I was thinking about it, it suddenly rushed into the water and disappeared. However, after a while, it flew up with a small fish in its long red mouth. It stood at the bow of the boat and swallowed the small fish in one gulp. My mother told me that this was a kingfisher. Oh. This kingfisher hitched a ride on our boat and was catching fish. 17. Golden grass. We live in the country, and there is a large piece of grass in front of the window. The grass is covered with dandelions. When the dandelions are in bloom, the grass turns golden. My brother and I often play on the grass. Once, my brother ran ahead of me, and I pretended to be serious and shouted, "Seriosa." When he turned around, I blew hard and blew the dandelion fluff into his face. The younger brother also pretended to yawn. Blow dandelion fuzz in my face. In this way, these unobtrusive dandelions bring us a lot of happiness. One day, I got up early to go fishing and found that the grass was not golden, but green. When I came home at noon, I saw that the grass was golden. In the evening, the grass becomes green again. Why is this? I came to the grass, looked carefully, and found that the petals of the dandelion were closed. It turns out that dandelion flowers are like our palms. Can be opened and closed. When the flowers open, the petals are golden, and the grass is golden. When the flowers close, the golden petals are wrapped, and the grass becomes green. What a lovely meadow! What an interesting dandelion! Since then, dandelions have become one of our favorite flowers. It sleeps with us and wakes up with us. 18. 3 Ancient Poems, Looking at Tianmen Mountain. Looking at Tianmen Mountain. Tangli Bai. The gate of heaven interrupts the opening of Chujiang River. The clear water flows eastwards and returns here. The green mountains on both sides of the strait come out opposite each other. The lone sail comes with a piece of sunshine. Drinking on the lake, it starts to clear and then rains dash. Song Dynasty Su Shi. It's better when the water is clear and the water is shining. The color of the mountain is also strange when it is empty and covered with rain. If you want to compare the West Lake to the West, light makeup and heavy makeup are always suitable. Looking at Dongting. Tang Dynasty Lu Yushi. The lake light, autumn moon, and two phases harmonize. There are no goggles on the surface of the pool. Looking at the green mountains and rivers of Dongting in the distance. A green snail on a silver plate. 19. The rich Paracel Islands. The Paracel Islands are located in the northwest of the South China Sea. It is part of Sansha City, Hainan Province, my country. It is a lovely place with beautiful scenery and rich products. The sea water in the Shisha Islands area is colorful and magnificent, dark blue, light green, and apricot yellow. Piece by piece, strip by strip, intertwined with each other. Because the bottom of the sea is uneven, with cliffs and canyons, and the water depth varies, the colors look different when viewed from the sea surface. Various corals grow on the rocks on the seabed, some like blooming flowers, and some like branched antlers. Sea cucumbers are everywhere, squirming lazily on the bottom of the sea. The big lobster is covered in armor and looks very majestic as it paddles here and there. The fish were swimming in groups among the corals, which was very beautiful. Some are covered with colorful stripes. Some have clusters of red tassels on their heads, some have many fans stuck around their bodies, swaying when swimming, some have round eyes, and their bodies are covered with thorns, and when inflated they become as round as a rubber ball. There are countless kinds of fish. As people say, the sea in the Paracel Islands is half water and half fish. The Paracel Islands are also dominated by birds. There are patches of dense woods on the island, inhabited by various seabirds. Bird eggs were everywhere. A thick layer of bird droppings accumulates under the trees, which is a very valuable fertilizer. The fertile Shisha Islands are where our ancestors have lived for generations. With the development of motherland construction, the lovely Shisha Islands will surely become more beautiful, more abundant. 20. Seaside Town. My hometown is in Guangdong, a small seaside town. When people walk to the end of the street, they can see the vast sea. The sky is blue and so is the sea. On the horizontal line where the sea and the sky meet. There were brown sailboats and silver-white warships coming and going. There were white and gray seagulls flying in the sky, and there were also clouds of the same color as the seagulls. In the morning, motorboats, warships, seagulls, and clouds were all coated with a layer of golden color by the rising sun. The faces and arms of the fishermen on the sailboats and the soldiers on the warships were also coated with a layer of golden yellow. There is a beach on the beach, and the beach is covered with shells of various colors and patterns. We see a lot of children here. I ignored these shells, and the shells had to lie there lonely. A whistle sounded in the distance. It was the return of the fishing fleet. The boat was loaded with shining silver fish, as well as blue shrimps and crabs, and golden conches. As soon as the fleet docked, the beach became noisy. There are many trees in every courtyard in the small town. There are eucalyptus trees, coconut trees, olive trees, phoenix trees, and many other subtropical trees. In early summer, the fragrance of eucalyptus leaves comes. It floats all over the streets and courtyards. The phoenix tree was in bloom, blooming so lively that the small town seemed to be shrouded in red clouds. The park in the small town is more beautiful. There are many banyan trees here. The banyan trees are like big green velvet umbrellas that are opened one after another. The leaves are airtight and can block the sun, wind, and rain. There is a stone bench under the tree. On rest days, the stone bench is always full of people. The streets of the small town are also beautiful. Except for the asphalt roads, they are all paved with fine sand, which makes a squeaking sound when you step on them. It's like stepping on the beach. People cleaned the streets so clean that there wasn't even a fallen leaf. This seaside town is really beautiful and neat. 21. The beautiful Xiaoxinganling. Xiaoxing'an Mountains in northeast my country. There are countless red pine, white birch, oak trees, hundreds of miles together, like a green ocean. In spring, trees sprout new branches and grow green leaves. The snow on the mountains melted, and the snow water gathered into a stream, flowing gurglingly. The stream is filled with spring water. Deer were walking by the stream. Some of them bent down to drink water, while others tilted their heads to admire their own shadows in the water. In summer, the trees grow lush and green, and the dense layers of branches and leaves seal the forest tightly, blocking people's sight and covering the blue sky. In the morning, fog rose from the valley, and the entire forest was immersed in a milky white fog. The sun came out, and thousands of rays of golden light, like sharp swords, passed through the treetops. The light shines on the grass in front of the workers' dormitory. All kinds of wild flowers are blooming on the grass, red, white, yellow and purple. It is really like a beautiful big flower bed. In autumn, the leaves of birch and oak trees turn yellow, and pines and cypresses look greener. The autumn wind blows. Fallen leaves are flying in the forest. At this time, the forest presented people with sweet and sour mountain grapes, fragrant and crisp hazelnuts, fresh mushrooms and fungus, as well as precious medicinal materials such as ginseng. In winter, snowflakes are flying in the air. The trees are covered with snow. The snow on the ground is thick, loose and soft, often up to the knees. The northwest wind blew through the treetops. The sable and the black bear had to hide in their own holes. The sable caught a hare and ate it. The black bear had no choice but to lick his fat and thick soles with his tongue. Squirrels live off the pine nuts collected in tree holes in autumn. Sometimes they even go for a walk on the branches to see if spring is coming soon. Shaoxing has attractive scenery all year round. It is a beautiful big garden and a huge treasure house. 22. Early departure from Baidi City. Tang, Li Bai. Chaozi Baidi among the colorful clouds. 1,000 miles to Jiangling can be returned in one day. The apes on both sides of the strait couldn't stop crying. The boat has passed the 10,000 mountains. 23. The sound of nature. Nature has many beautiful sounds. The wind, the musician of nature, plays his accordion in the forest. When he turned the leaves, they sang various songs like singers. Different leaves have different sounds, different seasons have different music. When the breeze blows, the voice is soft, like a whisper, making people feel the gentleness of nature, when the strong wind blows. The whole forest was excited and sang a majestic music. The sound was full of power and made people feel the power of nature. Water is also the musician of nature. When it rains, he likes to play percussion instruments. The little raindrops are beating. A lively concert began. Tick-tock, ding-dong-dong. All the woods, every leaf in the woods, all the houses, their roofs and windows, all make different sounds. When the little raindrops gather together, they sang together, the stream gurgled to the river gurgled to the sea, and the sea roared. From a light mountain ditty to a magnificent ocean chorus. Animals are the singers of nature. Walk in the park and listen to the chirping of birds on the trees. Sit under a tree and listen to the chirping of insects. Walk by the pond and listen to the singing of grasshoppers. Do you know what they sing? Their songs seem to tell us. I'm singing, I'm happy. 24. Father, woods, and birds. My father loved woods and singing birds most in his life. When I was a child, one spring dawn, my father took me from a forest on the bank of the Tua River. Walking by. Father suddenly stood still, looking up and down into the deep misty woods, and smelled again and again with his nose. There are many birds in the woods. Father murmured. I didn't see a bird, and I didn't hear a bird call. I stared blankly at my father, who stood as tall and calm as a tree. My father pointed to a branch of a tree and said to me, Look there is no wind, why are the leaves moving? I searched carefully and couldn't find the moving leaves. And Birdie? My father said softly, he was afraid of disturbing the birds. Dash. I only smelled the strong smell of bitter grass and trees, but no smell of birds. Dash. Birds also have smells? Have. There are always a group of birds spending the night in the woods, and their feathers are warm. At dawn. All the birds fluttered their feathers to shake off the dew and moisture. Each open beak breathes freely, deeply. Dash, the bird is getting ready to sing. My father and I were sitting by the woods, and the birds really sang. This is the time when the woods and birds are happiest. My father said. I know that my father is also the happiest at this time. A few days later, my father said to me, when a bird is happiest, the moment it flies off the branch, it is most likely to be shot by a hunter. Why? I asked in astonishment. My father said, a bird at dawn has wet wings and feels heavy when flying. I'm so glad my father is not a hunter. 25. Thorny friend. In autumn, the jujube trees are covered with red dates, which sway gently when the wind blows. It's like countless fragrant agates dangling around, making people greedy just looking at them. One night, the new moon hung slanting, and the hazy moonlight filtered through the branches and sprinkled on the ground. I just walked to the jujube tree in the backyard. Suddenly I saw a round thing slowly climbing up the tree. I was so surprised that I quickly clung to the wall and watched its every move. Is it a cat, or something else? I secretly guessed. That thing must not have noticed that I was spying on it. It was still crawling mysteriously towards the old tree branches and then towards the outstretched branches. The branches covered with red dates slowly bent down. Later, the thing stopped, maybe shaking hard. The branches rustled and the red dates fell to the ground with a crackle. Before I could figure out what was going on, the guy in the tree fell down with a pop. It can be heard that the fall was quite hard. I suddenly realized, isn't this a hedgehog? Soon. It slowly became active again. It seems that I am more energetic than when I climbed the tree. It crawled around in a hurry, gathering the scattered red dates together one by one, and then rolled on the spot. Guess what? The pile of red dates gathered together. All stuck on its back. Immediately, its body grew in size. Perhaps because it was afraid of being discovered, it carried a load of red dates on its back and ran towards the ditch in the corner. I secretly admire, smart little thing. What a brilliant person you are at stealing dates. But where does it live? Is it far from here? Are there any friends in the nest? Curiosity drove me to tiptoe to the ditch. I bent down and looked at it. The ditch was full of black holes. The little hedgehog was gone. 26. Sima Guang. A group of children were playing in the court. One child climbed onto an urn and fell into the water. Everyone abandoned it. They just hit the urn with a stone and broke it. Water burst out and the child survived. 27. Applause. When I was in elementary school, there was a classmate named Ingzi in our class. She is very quiet and always sits silently in a corner of the classroom. Before class, she came to the classroom early, and after class, she was always the last one to leave. Because she was ill when she was a child, her legs and feet became disabled. She doesn't want others to see the way she walks. One day, the teacher asked the students to take turns telling stories on the podium. When it was Ingzi's turn, the eyes of the whole class turned to that corner, and Ingzi immediately lowered his head. The teacher was just transferred and didn't know Yingzi's situation yet. Ingzi hesitated for a while, then stood up slowly, with red eyes. Under the watchful eyes of the whole class, she finally staggered onto the podium. At the moment when Ingzi stood still, applause suddenly burst out in the classroom. The applause was warm and lasting. In the applause, we saw Ingzi's tears flowing down. The applause gradually subsided and Ingzi calmed down. Start telling a little story about yourself. She speaks Mandarin very well and has a very beautiful voice. After the story was told, the classroom burst into warm applause again. Ingzi bowed deeply to everyone, and then he staggered off the stage amid applause. From then on, Ingzi seemed to be a different person, no longer as melancholy as before. She played games and joked with her classmates, and even asked her classmates to teach her how to dance at a party. A few years later, we went to different middle schools. Ingzi wrote to me and said, "I will never forget that applause, because it made me understand that my classmates did not discriminate against me. Everyone's applause gave me great encouragement. Give me the courage to face life with a smile." 28. Bullfinch. One winter, Lenin was recuperating in the suburbs. He went for a walk in the park every day. There was a tall birch tree in the park, and there were 3 bullfinch on the tree. 2 had pink breasts. One breast is dark red. They jump back and forth among the branches and sing gracefully, which is very cute. Every time Lenin walked under the birch tree, he would stop and look up at the 3 cheerful gray finches, and often brought them bread crumbs and grains. One day, Lenin came to the park again, walked under the birch tree, and found that the crimson-breasted bullfinch was missing. He searched the surrounding woods but couldn't find it. At this time, Lenin saw a little boy and asked, "Child, have you ever seen a crimson-breasted bullfinch?" The boy said, "No, I didn't see it." Lenin said, "It must have flown away or froze to death. The weather is very cold and it is afraid of the cold." The boy originally wanted to tell Lenin that the gray bird was not dead, but he did not dare to say it. Lenin said to himself, "What a wonderful gray bird, but it's a pity that it will never fly back again." The boy looked at Lenin and said, "It will fly back, it will definitely fly back. It is still alive." Lenin asked, "Will you fly back?" "I will definitely fly back," the boy said with certainty. The next day, Lenin came to the birch tree and saw the gray bird singing happily on the branch. The boy stood by the birch tree, head bowed. Lenin looked at the boy, then at the gray bird, smiled and said, "Hello, gray bird. Where were you yesterday?" Of course, the gray bird did not tell Lenin where it went yesterday. Lenin did not ask the boy again, because he already knew that the boy was honest. 29. The operating table is the position. Spring 1939. The Chihui battle has begun. The arrogant Japanese army received a blow as soon as they arrived in Chihui town, and more than 500 people were killed by our army. The enemy kept counterattacking and the battle was very fierce. The wounded of our army were carried down from the firing line one after another. In a small temple not far from the front line of fire, Dr. Bethune was operating on the wounded. He had not rested for 2 days and 2 nights, and his eyeballs were bloodshot. Suddenly, several shells landed in the open space in front of the small temple. Smoke billowed and shrapnel flew. The small temple was flooded with smoke. Bethune still stood calmly beside the operating table. He took the forceps handed over by his assistant, quickly took out a piece of shrapnel from the wounded man's abdominal cavity, and threw it on the plate. Enemy planes kept roaring overhead. Shells continued to explode all around. The division health minister hurried over and said to Bethune, "The division commander decided to let you and some of the wounded leave here." Bethune thought for a while and said, "I agree to evacuate some of the wounded. As for me personally, I want to be with the soldiers and cannot leave." The minister pleaded, "Comrade Bethune, it is dangerous here. Letting you leave here is the need of the combat situation." Bethune said, "Thank you, teacher, for your concern. However, the operating table is the doctor's position." The soldiers did not leave their positions. How could I leave mine? "Comrade Minister, please tell the division commander that I am an 8th Route Army soldier and not your guest." Bethune lowered his head and continued to operate on the wounded. Several shells landed around the small temple. Many tiles were laid in one corner of the temple. The curtain hanging at the door caught fire, and the flames rushed towards the operating table. Assistants rushed to put out the fire. The stretcher team lifts the wounded who have undergone surgery. Quickly moved to the rear. Bethune still raced against time to perform operations on the wounded, one after another. The Chihue battle lasted 3 days and 3 nights, and the victory